Hello guys and welcome to another sort of feature video on Element TD2. In this one we're gonna go over the new patch that came out a couple of days ago and pretty much see how it will completely change how people play this game to a rather large degree. So this patch is called 0.54 and it's, as you can see, it says new co-op map and core balance changes. We're gonna go over them really sort of quickly at the very least because there's a lot to go through, so we are not gonna get stuck on anything for too long. But we're gonna analyze these things a little bit from my point of view, and yeah, let's get into it. So new co-op map added, Atlantis. As I explained in my first video, co-op is something that requires more players to complete. So usually you will play like 6 to 8 players on it, ideally. I think that's actually me in the picture there, I just realized. The visuals are prototype for now. This is when we were testing it in the alpha build. And this map is a lot harder than the previously existing co-op map called Grand City. So it's an exciting addition. I've played it in public once and we failed miserably. So yeah. New achievements added. This is a bigger deal than it might seem like, because achievements in Element TD2 gives you experience when you complete them in-game, which allows you to buy new cosmetics. So yeah, I like that they have it. Like Element TD2, you have a field day. You're gonna have a field day if you're gonna want to 100% those achievements. Simply put. Now we have 3 based on eliminations in FFA. So eliminating players, simply put, making them lose all the lives before you do. 4 based on being the first one to clear the wave in FFA. 2 based on co-op mode, 4 based on... I like that they add achievements for co-op mode, by the way. And then we have 4 based on clearing Atlantis on a particular difficulty, 3 based on getting a high score in Atlantis, 7 new cosmetics added. New builder added, or 2 of them actually. This new builder, Lich, it requires level 50, and I think I'm one of probably... I can't think. I can't imagine it's more than like 5 people who has this along with me, because getting to level 50 is a grind. I've just been grinding this game quite a bit. They also added jetpack and energy shield and all that stuff. It's pretty cool stuff. Add a join Discord button on the main menu. If you play this game, get on the Discord. That's where all the discussion happens, and the developers respond quite frequently. Replays now log all errors that occur in a match. That's good for obviously bug fixing. More server stability improvements. You should see less synchronizes. After playing this a couple of times, that goes up and down, to be honest. But it might also be specific to people lagging behind. I had one game where we were synchronizing all the time, but then one person left because he got eliminated, and then all of a sudden it was smooth as butter. Minor visual tweaks on creeps, did not notice those. Minor optimizations applied. Sounds added for ping, player eliminated, and player disconnected. I generally like feedback. One thing... actually, never mind. I was about to say that you don't really have much feedback for clicking an element so that it comes out. But obviously you still get this sound for an elemental coming out. And yeah, the elemental itself should be proof that it has worked. But it doesn't like have an effect when you click it on the actual board in-game. Cleaned up some of the tooltips as well as fixed consistency. You can no longer pause the game while it's synchronizing. I assume that could cause issues. It seems like a thing that would cause issues. The in-game menu will now close itself when someone unpauses. That's awesome. It's annoying that it didn't. 90% cell values in pick are now accurate. I guess it was something a little bit off. Bounty gold pop-up now lists plus X gold instead of plus X. This isn't like an important change in my opinion, but it's part of a thing where they have just try to separate where you actually get gold from. So in game it now says like gold, X gold from creeps, then it says X interest, so you can see how much interest you specifically got, and it doesn't just show gold in numbers uh, as it did before, which could perhaps confuse a player as to where that player just got a bunch of gold from. And then there's from the new bounty upgrade, which we will go over later, I'm fairly sure. Then we have pressing F9 to hide player name tags, okay. Leaderboard duration is now based on the time cleared up through wave 55 instead of the full length of the game. Several level, this is what matters, right? Because this applies the speed modifier. So speed modifier is one of the more important ones when it comes to your end boss score. So yeah, several level requirements for various cosmetics have been shuffled around. Dual mode settings have been trimmed a bit. Difficulty is now locked into very hard. Same random removed. All it did was remove the counterplay. Extreme removed, which replaced the counterplay entirely in favor of pure survival. I can't imagine playing dual in on extreme. That must literally be the definition of the term extreme, because it's like you're messing with each other while also trying to just survive the waves that are oncoming all the time. It's just, I do like playing dual on turbo so that the rounds go by faster, but in general, yeah, extreme seems a bit crazy. Yet even more attempts at fixing desync shenanigans, fixed an interaction between trickery and fire, earth, ethereal, and wisp towers, such that the clone wouldn't include self-buff benefits as a result of the tower's own effect. Okay. Fixed a bug. What this means, by the way, is, or at least that's what I assume it means, is that if trickery, for example, copied a fire tower ramps up its damage the more it attacks. So it's probably it probably didn't work, simply put, when it was cloned. Fixed the bug. If the game's host left the lobby, anyone else had the ability to kick other players. That's funny. Fixed the bug where too many entries in the chat log would scramble all the text on screen. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, I saw that one. Fixed a bug where clearing the Grand City on normal wouldn't display the next difficulty achievement. Fixed victory and game over labels getting switched. Yeah, happened a lot. You have won the game pop-up showing. You have won the game, yeah. Fixed name tags showing up in the builder preview. Never saw that. Fixed pings only working for player 1, yeah. Fixed pings not showing up on winter. Fixed rounding errors between top right's HUD and scoreboard. Okay. Fixed path indicators not turning properly when going diagonal. Okay. Not something I'd noticed either. Fixed a bug where ethereal towers wouldn't go up in damage if you weren't player 1. So this was one that actually took a while for them to figure out. Especially since it was so weird. Like, it worked for some and then it didn't work for some. Obviously it was because some were player 1 and the others weren't. And not to mention that it's just in co-op. It's just so weird. Fixed health bars being gray for everyone except player 1. And now we get to some of the cooler and crazier stuff. So interest upgrade replaced with income upgrades. What this does now is that, in my preview of the game, where I played a whole round, I randomed the interest upgrade on the initial random, so to speak. And so I got 2.75% interest in from the beginning. So the selling and rebuilding gameplay essentially became the most important part of the game because I gained so much gold over time, and this just snowballs so hard out of anything that can even resemble balance. So instead, they've decided to go with income upgrades, and they are 15% of a wave's value is given to you at the end of clearing that wave. And it just smooths out the curve a little bit instead of making interest go absolutely nuts. I know that there were people on the leaderboards that had like 300,000 net worth and stuff, and that should probably not happen. And it's a really boring way to play that also only really benefits people who are really good at the game, and if a bad player, a new player, that's a bad way of putting it. If a new player randoms into interest upgrades or chooses it, they might not even gain anything from it because they don't understand how that mechanic works. At the end of each wave, you gain extra gold equal to 15% of wave bounty. It's actually said here, yeah. Just like before, you can get a maximum of 2 income upgrades. So in the end, you can get up to 30% of the wave bounty. I think actually after playing with this for a while, both in alpha and in the live build now, the wave bounty upgrade is now fairly equal to interest. It's now fairly equal to picking an element. And that's the issue with interest before. Interest was just so superior because you got so much extra gold. Now it's a legit choice between the extra income upgrade and elements. I've seen more pure element builds without any interest or income upgrades top the leaderboards now than they did before. And it's a cool thing. This might need to get raised. It's a little bit too early to tell. To be clear, this does not replace interest, just interest upgrades. Yeah, so you still have 2% interest, so it's still worth selling and rebuilding. It's just that on random, that is, and early waves of pick as well, because the base 2 towers, arrow, and cannon, they have a high resell ratio as well. But it just doesn't scale and snowball as crazily as it did before. Essence upgrade now requires you to kill an essence boss before receiving the upgrade. So before you just got the essences, or the essence. And when you do kill it, you gain 2 essences instead of 1. This is a very important upgrade. Once again, they've done a great job of making sure that picking an essence or picking an element in the endgame is a real choice. Simply put, because I've seen so many times where I've had some pretty bad builds or bad randoms or whatever, then I get an essence boss and it just kind of turns it around and I make it through the last few waves and kill a few rounds of the boss just because I have a couple of pure towers. Pure towers, the level 4 pure towers, are not to be underestimated. So this is, once again, it's just a great balance change and I really like it. I'm not sure if it's the perfect version of essences, just like I'm not sure if this is the perfect version of the income upgrade, but nevertheless, it's much better than it was before. Interest now stops when you clear wave 55, not when wave 56 starts. Okay, so this is just further going in the direction of stopping interest, because the issue is interest shouldn't really not be ticking when you've cleared the game, because when you kill wave 55, you're supposed to prepare for about a minute before the boss waves come out. And you don't want to prepare too quickly because then you lose money on interest just by building things. So yeah, this is just, it removes, it de-incentivizes you to wait before you start preparing. You now gain bounty from killing during the boss waves. This is a really big one. It allows you to adapt during the boss waves and get higher scores, so to speak. And I think that this goes well along with the fact that you get less gold overall due to the interest nerf. It allows you to still get those high scores. The above income upgrade also works off this. Now, this is something I'm not sure if I like, personally, because if you have chosen the income upgrade, well, yeah, it does make sense, sort of, because if you haven't chosen the income upgrade, you either have an extra essence upgrade or you have an extra element upgrade. That might help you to kill the waves either way. So the extra gold sort of makes up for the fact that you have one less power pick, I suppose. The total amount of gold you get each wave is equal to wave 55, and it does not increase. Yeah, so that's roughly 9,000, I think. I don't remember what this is. No, wait. The value of the last wave is somewhere around 9,000, I think. And then 15% of that, it's... well, let's see. Let's just do 9,000 times 0.15. That's 1350. extra gold per wave, roughly, that you get there, or maybe a 1500 since it's slightly above 9000. I'm fairly certain. I can also point out that money towers work on this, so you get extra gold from money tower kills on that wave as well. And I think money towers might be slightly overpowered at the moment still, even though I think they got nerfed. So yeah. Okay, so the total amount of gold, perfection bonus score multipliers increased from 1.1 to 1.2. I think this is great. It incentivizes people to actually try and care about losing lives during the early rounds, and 1.2, I mean, 20% modifiers to all your score just because you actually made it through without losing any lives. That's a big deal. Now, creeps got some changes to the enemy waves as well. Cursed creeps now remove well and blacksmith buffs from affected towers and instantly kill trickery clones. This is a big change, obviously. It nerfs buff builds where you would go like blacksmith 3 and just absolutely destroy everything because, well, blacksmith 3 is crazy in terms of damage buff on the towers. Cursed debuff AoE reduced from 350 to 250. So yeah, it's very good. Like now, I've actually adapted my builds to this in game now. I always build towers with one space in between, or a set of towers with one space in between, so that it doesn't affect too many towers each time a curse wave comes around. And don't forget that the modifiers on the boss waves are actually random. Each creep is individually random which modifier it gets. Or maybe it's not random, maybe it's just evenly distributed. But either way, that's probably it, by the way. So you will always have curse in those boss rounds, and then it also matters to space out your towers a little bit. Bulky HP multipliers increase from 2 to 2.5 or 2.25 times, and I think that's a great change too. Bulky was a little bit of a joke. Undead now removes all debuffs upon its first death, meaning Napalm will no longer trigger twice for it. This does not matter most of the time. Obviously, it nerfs the flamethrower effect a little bit, but it will just apply it again. And most of the time, if you're killing undeads, they die in a pile. There's gonna be like a pile of corpses, pretty much, and they're all gonna get reapplied immediately anyway, unless you're struggling with an undead wave and more creeps come onto the path at the same time and all of that stuff. Then this really matters. In random, the earliest level 2 boss can spawn has been moved from wave 10 to wave 15. I like this a lot because for two reasons. I would sometimes random into an element and then get an income or interest upgrade or whatever it was, and then get a level 2 boss. And depending on which element you had at that time, it might be nearly impossible to actually deal with that level 2 boss. Now you have a slightly higher chance of having something to deal with it when it actually does come out. In random, you can now get ×2 income upgrades on all difficulties. Previously, it was restricted to very hard and insane only. This is because, as I said before, it did not benefit the new players as much before. The interest upgrade, they might not even have noticed that they had it or understood what it did. So now it can be randomed on any difficulty, and it does obviously automatically, by the player killing the waves, it does benefit them. 2-path increased wave time reduced. Increased wave time reduced. Wait, so it had an increased wave time, and it was reduced from +4 to +3 seconds. So what that means to me is that the time in between waves is probably what I was supposed to say here. And you get +3 seconds here now instead of +4 seconds in between waves on 2-path. Extreme mode gets an extra 3 seconds in between waves. This is actually more impactful than you might think, because there's an achievement that is to beat every map on extreme. And then there's another achievement that is beat each map within 25 minutes. And in order to do that, you actually need to do 2-path, because if you don't beat them within 25 minutes because it takes too long for them to spawn out of one gate. And this is after the plus 3 seconds per wave change in Extreme. Teams mode, they nerfed the HP multiplier. I think that makes sense, especially with the bulky buff, because if you increase the HP of bulky by that much and then also have a crazy team multiplier, you will struggle. And I already noticed in the last patch that very hard became very hard in team, even with 2 players that actually sort of knew what they were doing, even on random. So, teams mode, team only HP scaling reduced 17. Team only HP scaling reduced. I'm not sure what this means, to be honest, because this is the HP multiplier and this is the HP scaling. Oh, I see. So each wave increases by 17% and then they further... Okay, so this is like a base value. So let's say that you get... The first wave is 100 HP. And then the next wave will start with 117 HP because they have 17% increased HP compared to the last wave. Now it will instead have 116.5 lives or health, and or I assume it rounds up to 117 either way, but it will matter on the later difficulties. And then that base value is multiplied by this. I would assume that's how it works. Base speed score multiplier is increased by 5.5 to 6.5. Okay, so co-op mode, it's easier. This speed score multiplier is better to get higher scores, I suppose. So, tower balance. Arrow and cannon tower now sell for 74 gold instead of 75 gold. This only affects in pick. In random, all towers still sell for 100% gold. So this makes pick so hard. I'm not gonna lie, like, I have tried beating pick on insane. Now, given I am a much worse pick player than I am a random player, this still, like, I couldn't beat insane on pick anymore. Because of this change. You just don't snowball economy-wise as much as you used to. And, yeah. That's the intention, of course. Insane should be hard. I'm sure that there are players out there that can beat pick on insane still. And that play pick more than I do. So, tier 2 single got reduced in cost. Tier 3 single also got reduced in cost. I think these are great changes because you generally tended to use duals or triples above using tier 2 and tier 3 singles. And what I mean by that, you can build a fire tower level 2 or 3, but you would normally, in that case, actually build a dual or a triple instead. And then they slightly increased the dual cost and the triple cost. No, wait, a tier 3 dual. Never mind. Okay. This might actually be something, because I've noticed in the game now lately that tier 3 duels, they feel slightly weaker, but that might not actually be them being weaker. It might just be me not being used to the high gold cost, and that in itself made me afford less of them, or afford fewer of them. So that probably ended up being the effect. That's why they have felt slightly underwhelming to me. So, Geyser ability changed. Old, for each crypt in the attack's AoE, deal additional damage. New, on every 5th attack, do a 300 AoE attack that launches creeps hit up into the air. This is purely visual, not a stun. Damage increased from 300, 1200, 4800, 1300, 5200, and 20,800. Attack speed reduced from 1 to 0.66. AoE reduced from 200 to 0. So, this tower is now interesting. I'm not sure because I can't say too much about the old Geyser because I pretty much only ever built it as a way of dealing with certain waves in random. Like if I got light time lapse or whatever, where I needed Earth AoE and I didn't have anything but water and ground or whatever, then I would uh, actually do geyser because, well, or I might just do a pure earth. Either way, now they are single targets, but every fifth attack they become AoE and they launch creeps into the air, but it's purely visual. So this is, I've tried a few builds with them since the patch came out, and I find them to be slightly too weak. I've gotten through and done some half-assed score entries with geysers, but yeah, I don't see them being one of the strongest duels at the moment. It's just, I don't know what they would do. Maybe just raise this to 0.7 or something. I don't know. They're slightly too weak at the moment, just slightly, in my opinion. But I look forward to seeing someone proving me wrong. I look forward to eating my words. So, solar damage was increased. Solar tower damage, sorry, not solar damage. This is fine. Damage per second increased as well. Solar tower is actually one of my favorites, and yeah, I like this. Mushroom damage reduced. It's a fairly small nerf. Not sure why this was reduced. I don't think that mushroom was that insanely strong to begin with. Maybe it was. Vapor damage reduced. I've felt that nerf, I can say, even though it's a really small one, but I really feel like they are underperforming slightly at the moment, but who knows. I have been using them from time to time now since the new build came out, and or the new version, and yeah, I don't. I mean, Vapor is already very specific about its positioning because it deals more damage the longer it shoots in a line. So, or the more creeps it hits in a line. Sorry. So yeah, it's very placement specific. Trickery clone damage reduced. So they did a small nerf to Trickery. I think that's fine. Trickery is, or was definitely by far the strongest support tower in the game. Now with the support nerfs, with the curse waves and that, I'm not sure anymore. Quake AoE reduced from 100 to 0. That's on their basic attacks, by the way. And 100 AoE to 0, it's like, does it even matter? It might in very specific situations, but most of the time you rely on its single target damage plus its Quake specifically. Damage reduced from 1506,000 to 1405,600. So this is a single target. Shockwave from 3,000 to 12,000 to 2,800, 11,200. Once again, very placement specific. I'm not sure if I think that nerfing Quake was necessary because, well, once again, they're very strong in certain situations but really bad in others. And I don't know. I do agree with the single target nerf for sure. It shouldn't be that strong in single targeting, but I'm not sure about the AoE. Flamethrower damage increased. Yeah, the actual damage from its attacks is increased, but the napalm damage was reduced. So the explosion damage, that is. Golem damage increased. I think that's fine. Golems were slightly underwhelming after their recent change with 3 seconds of inactivity and then 3 seconds of attacking. And now after the change, I feel like they've come into their element a little bit. They're better. Ethereal damage reduced. Okay. I actually used ethereal damage in my high score run on Wasteland the other day, and I did not feel this nerf, so it was probably a good nerf. Monetar bonus, bounty bonus reduced from 35% 50% to 25-35, and maybe this should be 20-30 or something. I'm not sure. At least if you're gonna keep the single target damage as high as it is, and that should probably be the case for now, since it also is like a single target tower that you might want in your build. That might change in the future, but I am not sure if I'm allowed to tell you why. So instead, I'm just gonna skip over that and let that be. Astral damage reduced from 1600 to 1500. And then ability cooldown reduced from 12 to 9 seconds. This is I asked about this because I was too lazy to do the calculations. But I asked about this, and this is a net gain for the tower in terms of damage because it activates its ability more often and attacks with those 1500 on more creeps more often. Okay, so incantation damage reduced. That's good. It's a support tower. It dealt a little bit too effectively sometimes with other waves, especially if you mass them for some reason. Since it gains off its own amplified damage, it makes sense to nerf it. Windstorm damage per second increased. I like Windstorm. I like this change. Not much else to say, especially Windstorm level 2, 2500 damage per second is pretty good. Windstorm is now a really good slow tower. AoE increased from 550 to 600. Okay, that just made it even better. Periodic damage increased from 32,000 to 35,000. And yeah, that's like periodic definitely needed a buff, and I tried them a few times since, and they're definitely more noticeable now in your defenses. So there are some things here. Challenges were removed in waiting for the upcoming campaign. And that's one thing that I want to discuss. There's a campaign coming probably by the end of this month. I'm not sure if they're going to deliver it piece by piece or if it's going to be all at once. But either way, a single-player campaign is coming to the game. I'm looking forward to it. It's one of the coolest changes they're currently working on, or additions rather, not changes. And then they also reset leaderboards for this, obviously, since it has such enormous what's it called? Such enormous balance changes, and not to mention the interest and income and all of that stuff. So I also want to show this a little bit because this is like a big thing. So in the future, they will be adding stuff, more stuff to the game. This is like a second co-op map is now in the game, but it doesn't have visuals. A whole lot more achievements, more cosmetics, more UI quality of life improvements, and whatever else. There's another really big thing that is coming, but this is specifically in early access. And once again, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about it or not. I think that I am because it's actually been mentioned on the Discord server, but I'm not going to take my chances. So I'm just going to discuss what actually it says here. So currently we have series of challenges in the game. However, beyond an educational level, their purpose is fairly move. We plan on overhauling this feature into a full-on campaign, complete with the ability to choose your build as you see fit, progression, upgrades, and new mechanics. This looks awesome. I'm really looking forward to this one. It will be a different way to play the game, most importantly. And then a ranked mode, of course, that's also something that I'm looking forward to, because currently it has this old, custom games feel to it, where you just match up against, like, you host a lobby and then you hope that you get people that are on your level, because a lot of the time people are just going into the game and like, okay, this is my first multiplayer game, I'm just gonna join the first lobby I see and see how I do. And then I've hosted something with like very hard two-path chaos or something, and they just stand no chance and they die within the first 3 or 4 waves. So I'm looking forward to a ranked mode where I will be facing off against some of the best players in the game, which I already do because I'm friends with them. But either way, it's still it will be better for the overall health of the game, and this will also come along with profile stats and improved online functionalities, and all of that coming late August, according to this. I'm not sure currently if that's going to be the case, but either way, because I think, don't quote me on this, but we're already in early August, and I'm fairly certain that this campaign is not coming in early August. It's probably coming towards the end of the month. I think they mentioned that, but I'm not entirely 100% sure on this. And then similarly, I think this is going to get postponed just a little bit to maybe September, right? Yeah. So, but either way, I'm really looking forward to this, and I'm really looking forward to this, and I'm really looking forward to a future addition to the game. more than anything else, actually. But yeah, once again, um, I hope you enjoyed this update and a little bit of analysis. Maybe not much of an analysis, but something like that, of the changes coming in this that have come in this patch. And thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye for today. Have a good one.